Here now is Alveda King. She is niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She's also a Fox News contributor, and she has a new book out. We Are Not Colorblind, Healing the Racial Divide. I can't think of a better reason to have you on today. You know, when we look at all the unrest in all of these different places, and we hear our presidential candidates, sort of battling back and forth about it, what could either of them actually do to help working families?
Melissa, I'm so glad that you've asked that question. And sometimes I almost shudder to think if we had had anyone else other than a real serious, successful businessman as president of the United States at this time, we really would be in a worse situation than we're in. COVID, you haven't seen anything like that for years and years and years, that type of pandemic. And then the race wars, and to have them both at the same time. So I'm very grateful that President Trump, I'll talk about both candidates, but to begin to stabilize the economy. Either candidate, both candidates would have to do that. I haven't heard a real plan from Joe Biden because his thing is let's spend more government money, do more for the people with the government money and the taxes. That tends to be the way that Mr. Biden thinks. President Trump says, let's keep people working. Let's make sure that people are safe. And he's doing a real good job with that, stabilizing that economy, giving SBA loans and PPP plans and the opportunity zones, money to historically Black colleges and universities. When the criminal justice situation, when people are coming out of jail, making sure that they can be employed and have something to do. So both candidates would have to pay close attention to the economy.
Why do you say that Vice President Joe Biden spending more money wouldn't work? Because, in fact, he spoke earlier in the day and he did say that. I mean, that was, we've got to spend money on schools, that we've got to send money out to people. All of his solutions involved really big government spending. Why is that not the answer?
If you're taking all of the money from the tax dollars without stabilizing the economy and making sure that you're working with the private sector, that they're stabilized and balanced and are willing to continue to work and to have their businesses safe and their businesses prospering so that people can have money, then of course you can spend more tax dollars. But if everybody is locked up at home, can't go to work, the people who do have businesses, if their businesses are being attacked, bombed, shut down, people are outside screaming and hollering, and you can't get into the businesses, then there is no more money to give away. So it's not really giving away money. When you have a healthy economy, everyone is working and participating in the economy, and then you can help the colleges, the universities, the returning citizens, and the schools. A businessman understands that, but I'm really not hearing that from Joe Biden.
Yeah. When we look at our cities around the country, we'll use New York as an example because we had a restaurant owner on yesterday from Harlem who had a historic restaurant. She employs more than 100 people. It's Sylvia's in Harlem. It's delicious as well as being a historical landmark. Mayor de Blasio is not allowing her to open up and have people come inside. He says this is an upper class problem, that you can't go out to dinner. Oh, poor people. And he doesn't seem to realize what it means to working people at the restaurant and those owners, who are working so hard, and so many are minority. I mean, what do you say to those local leaders who don't get that?
The mayor has an elitist attitude. Sylvia's is a historic restaurant. I've been to Sylvia's, and as a matter of fact, she used to have one in Atlanta, Georgia as well. And so in today's world, people do eat at restaurants. That's not an upper class situation. Many people do. And so for him to say, oh, well, that's just for the upper class, and so we don't have to worry about that. And there are other businesses that are, there's two barbershops, beauty salons, and just so many other businesses that people rely on and depend on. And so they can't get in and out.
Yeah.
of their businesses. The businesses are being firebombed and threatened, not by the people who run the businesses, not by the people in the community, but the outside agitators who go in to threaten and destroy. And in some cities now, people are running around to the various neighborhoods and said, give us your keys, give us your house. You don't have a right to live in this house, give us your house. So if you have a very unstable community like that, and you're not allowing people to go to work and go to school and to continue with a normal life. And that's why I said a businessman gets this. And he would say, stabilize that. He stabilized the jobs, and then we can work with money from taxes and things like that. And the business owners are still willing to stay in the community and not leave. You don't want businesses to go away and shut down. No, that's the key. Yeah.
Alveda King, thank you for coming on with your wisdom again. We appreciate it.
Shrimp and grits with a side of political conversation.
There's a modicum of truth to that unicorn thing.
At this lunch table in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's unabashed support for President Donald Trump.
So he's delivered on quite a few of the promises that he's made, but nobody wants to admit that.
According to the Pew Research Center, in 2016, 81% of black male voters cast their ballot for Hillary Clinton. For black women, that number rose to 98%.
I think when I would debate students on campus, they would definitely listen.
In this battleground state, Dayla Frazier wishes the Republican Party would do more to reach out to black communities.
I've never seen anyone from the right come to my community door, knock on my door, and explain to me anything.
Trump has faced criticism for repeatedly saying he's done more for black Americans than any other president. But these three agree.
You'll have to explain to me why, as a racist, he would provide historical levels of funding for historically black colleges and universities. You'll have to explain to me opportunity zones. I never heard a word about Donald Trump being racist until he came down the escalator.
Being black supporters of President Trump, they're used to getting a double take. This time was no different, as a young couple who asked to stay off camera pulled up their chairs to listen.
I've never seen 3 black Republicans. Never in my life.
And also debate.
He got kids in cages. I cannot agree with that on any level.
You're here, I'm here. Let's talk about the differences on why you believe this way, I believe here.
Just weeks from Election Day, this group is banking on another 4 years. Sarah Blake Morgan, The Associated Press.
I'm Jack Brewer, a former 3-time NFL team captain, college professor, coach, husband, son, and father. I'm also a lifelong Democrat, but I support Donald Trump. Let me be clear. I didn't come here for the popularity or the praise, the likes or the retweets. I'm here as a servant to God, a servant to the people of our nation, and a servant to our president. I grew up in Grapevine, Texas, a town that my great-grandfather was the first black man to settle as a sharecropper in 1896. My early high school experience included fighting with skinheads and being a witness in an attempted murder trial after my friend shot a skinhead in self-defense. I remember my dad's bravery when he personally stood up against a KKK rally in my town. In my house, my father taught me to back down from no one. I know what racism looks like. I've seen it firsthand. In America, it has no resemblance to President Trump. And I'm fed up with the way he's portrayed in the media, who refuse to acknowledge what he's actually done for the black community. It's confusing the minds of our innocent children. Before I left to come deliver this message, my energetic 8-year-old son, Jackson, stopped me and said, "Dad, can you please just tell everyone that all lives need to matter and that God loves everyone?" In that moment, I realized that my 8-year-old had figured out what so many adults have seemed to forget. We are not as divided as our politics suggest. At some point, for the sake of our children, the policies must take priority over the personalities. So because you have an issue with President Trump's tone, you're going to allow Biden and Harris to deny our underserved black and brown children school choice? Are we so offended by the president's campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again," that we're going to ignore that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have collectively been responsible for locking up countless black men for nonviolent crimes? Are you going to allow the media to lie to you by falsely claiming that he said there were very fine white supremacists in Charlottesville He didn't say that. It's a lie. And ignore the so-called Black Lives Matter organization that openly, on their website, calls for the destruction of the nuclear family. My fellow Americans, our families need each other. We need black fathers in the homes with their wives and children. The future of our communities depend on it. I'm blessed to be able to run inner city youth programs and to also teach in prisons across America. The inmates in my federal prison program literally receive days off their sentence just for attending my class. And that's thanks to President Donald Trump and his First Step Act. President Trump cared about these Americans and their families, even when so many others had left them behind and had written them off. I'm forever grateful for President Trump for that. He endures relentless attacks, and so do many of us, like myself, who support him. But my mama always told me, when the Lord starts blessing, the devil starts messing. This convention marks a time to celebrate our history. Republicans are the party that freed the slaves and the party that put the first black men and women in Congress. It's the party of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And now, Tim Scott and Donald Trump. Our president has made incredible strides to end mass incarceration and give unprecedented opportunities for black in America to rise. America, let this election be a call for all God's people who are called by his name to humble ourselves and pray together and to seek his face and to turn from our wicked ways. Then he will hear us from heaven, and he will forgive our sins, and he will heal our land. Amen, and God bless America.
How's it going? You guys look amazing today.
Thank you, you too.
Why are you in the Trump rally today?
Go ahead.
I just came out here. Normally I can never really say who or what I support. I'm really quiet about it, but today I just felt like coming out here because I'm sick and tired of what I'm seeing, and I want this to stop. I want it to change. So that's why.
Yes, same. For me, I definitely feel that way also, but one of the things I think that stands out for me the most is that he keeps God close. And we can't do anything without God. We can't be free without God. Love is free, and God is love, and God is life. And so we are blessed to live in America, and I'm blessed to be here with my friend and my families. Our families came from Mexico and made something of themselves. We were able to do that because we are here in America, and that's what America offers us. That's what makes America great. And so we're here to support this president because he is literally the only one that can do what he has been doing in this country, in the last 4 years, than any other president for the last 4 decades. So that's why we're here.
Do you feel you get any flack or any heat from the Latin community of supporting Trump?
150% is why I started my interview with letting you know that I normally don't speak out. I normally don't tell anybody. I give love to everyone. We passed by the Biden supporters and I gave them love. And one of them
the two Biden supporters over there.
One of them laughed at me on the way in, and I said, "Why are you laughing, brother? I love you. God bless you," because it's all about love. But I never say anything because I will be called a racist or just mocked and ridiculed for what I stand for.
Yeah, that's true, and it's unfortunate because a lot of the Latin community, we're here because of what America offers, and he's the president that is protecting that and protecting the constitutional rights, which is everybody. It doesn't matter. You can support Biden. That's okay. You have that right to do that. Absolutely. And we support this president, and we love America, and there's no other country in the world like America. So that's why we're here.
What would you say to the Latin community who don't support Trump?
Just do your research. That's it.
Don't follow the crowd. proud. Don't go with what everyone else is doing just because it's what they're doing or what the media is telling you. Really look at the statistics and look at what's happened. Look at the growth of our country and our economy under his presidency, and then make a decision. Make an educated decision. That's really.
Stay out of the MSM, mainstream media, especially Univision, all them. Stay out of it. Do your own research and make your own decisions. Don't follow us. Follow you. Listen to you.
Do you think in our lifetime we're going to have a female president?
We might.
Yeah.
We might.
Anything's
It'd be
possible.
great.
Not Kamala Harris, though.
Oh, come on. What are your thoughts of her?
You ain't got enough time or film to record that, okay? There's just do the research. I mean, her record, I mean, says a lot. Just what she's done, to me, it's just destroyed a lot of lives based on just, you know, who was paying her, and you know, she's just not a good person. And that's doing my own research. I just cannot get behind her. I don't care if she's a woman. You know, it's what you bring, and she's not bringing it. So that's why I'm here. 2020.
When President Trump wins again this year, what do you want from the president?
I want him to keep doing what he's been doing. It's just moving forward. Like every month he's been doing peace deals. He's been just keeping the spirit of America at the forefront, keeping the wellness and well-being of every single citizen, whether you support him or not. He's always fighting for you. And so just keep doing what he's doing. He's been doing great. So
thanks so much, girls.
thank you.
Thanks again. What's going on, guys? It's Ryan Fu. If you guys enjoyed that video, please smash that like button and also hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button so you guys can be up to date with all our videos. So once again, smash that like button and hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button, and check you guys out later and keep on shocking them, bros.
He is a businessman.
Yes.
And it makes a lot of sense when he talks business. For example, fiscal discipline. Everybody talks about reducing debt, 20 trillion debt, and when politicians talk about cutting debt, cutting spending, they mean something else. You know, you can project out that your increase is going to be 6%, and you just cut it by 2% and 4%. You're still increasing spending by 4%, and you call it savings, that you are cutting down debt. As a businessman, what businessman is there on the face of this earth who in crisis cannot cut 10% in spending? So budget deficit or deficit spending, which even in the normal Europe also, they consider 2-3% of GDP is considered to be okay.
Now, I know Andrew will have this question. I'll just ask it not for him, but the response would be that you compare the two plans, and Donald Trump, you combine the tax cuts with some of the military spending and some of the other things, and you actually end up adding more to the deficit than the way Hillary Clinton's plan is scored.
He's just not talking about cutting spending.
No, I see. He's talking about making government efficient.
Well, that's what it. See, you would have faith that a businessman knows how to, as he said, 10%. You go. You don't even have to think about cutting. 10%.
You could cut. This is just the politicians just talk about shifting from this bucket to this bucket and spending so much and revenue to be so much, right. But they don't understand. How businesses
just
are
so
run.
I understand, where have you read that or heard him say that he plans to cut spending?
He is said
Overall.
many times. He has said to me that he's going to make the government efficient. This is automatically a saving.
Maybe not overall spending, but he's talked about looking for waste and getting.
He said $1 trillion over a decade would come from cuts in spending. This is according to the plan that he released a few weeks ago. But about $6 trillion in additional revenues would just come from energy companies that would grow more quickly and pay more taxes. Do you worry that's a chicken and egg problem? That if you pay for things based on growth, that those aren't sure revenues for the government?
Look, the growth is going to growth in revenue is going to come from growth in the economy. So if you actually grow the economy instead of 1%, 3% or 4% per year, your revenue is going to increase. Automatically, the government revenue is going to increase because everybody is going to do better.
Hey CNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Here you're going to find videos packed with all of the information that you need to be smarter about your finances. You can subscribe by clicking right here and click on all the videos around me or the eye right here to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.
I'm here at a Trump rally in Mesa, Arizona, and I wanted to ask supporters about the fact that a Washington Post and ABC News poll showed that just 3% of African Americans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing, compared to around 36–40% of Americans. Let's see what they have to say about it. Right now, the latest poll shows that Trump's approval rating among African Americans is at 3%. Why do you think that is?
Fake news.
Fake news, the polling?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of people here. I've seen African American people.
But that's anecdotal evidence. That's not the totality.
It's not worth even answering her question. It's ridiculous.
I don't think that's real. I mean, they can say what they want. They also said Trump would have won the election. And he did.
But that polling was wrong around the margins. It was still correct on the national level.
Really? Okay.
Let's laugh.
You guys, I mean, it's just facts.
No,
okay. All right, next question.
Why is it not facts?
Did you say 3%?
3%.
I didn't want to talk to you. You're a joke. You're a serious joke.
All right, next question. Next question.
3? Yeah.
3? No, that's not right.
Like 18%.
Where'd you get that?
It was an ABC News poll.
Oh,
of course.
3%.
It's gone up way.
It's more like 25%.
The Clinton News Network is why I think that is. I highly doubt it's at 3%. That just doesn't even sound right. So I could tell you more than 3% just here in Arizona.
3%? I'm looking at Fox all the time. It's like 35%.
That's close to the national average, so there's no way that's true.
I think that's a lot better than we think, and there's a lot of hidden folks that don't want to come out, and they're stereotyped in the African American community not to support Trump on purpose. They're making them so where they don't understand if the Dinesh D'Souza movie about the fact that the Democrats are the ones that started slavery and continue that. Nothing to do with the Republicans, but they were able to push it off toward the Republicans. So that's part of the issue. It's just they don't like Trump. They're taught not to like Trump. They're taught not to like Republicans, but for no reasons.
I have actually a lot of African American friends. They're going to be here tonight, so I don't know. I always hear this stuff, and I think it's just a lot of noise. Yeah.
So I think that there's a difference between having African American friends than having like an aggregate of the entire country say they disapprove of him.
Right. Where did the aggregate come from? I like question the poll, right? Like where was the source?
The black vote has all African American votes always been Democrat, but they are leaving the Democratic Party because they're seeing what the Democrats have done to them.
What have they done?
Look at Detroit. It's a mess. Chicago's a mess. You have any town that has been run for Democrats for years, and they're a mess.
The Republicans are the ones that are actually fighting for him. And finally, people are waking up like Kanye and some other ones. And look at Candace Owens. Look at some of the Tatum. Another one, the African Americans that are very strong. Larry Elder is an advocate, of course. But, there's a lot more going for it than you would think.
I can only speak for myself, but from what I understand, the job numbers are up, unemployment's down for African Americans, so that's a good thing. But I'm not in their shoes, so I don't know.
What did you expect when you didn't have jobs? You were on welfare, the whole family, and generations of welfare that was created by the liberals on the left, starting with Johnson with the Great Society, that made them dependent.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.
The Democrat Party have established a house of token niggers. Token niggers.
Democrat Party, they want us to permanently be in a state of fear, racism, white racist Republicans.
They just put a black person in the White House for 8 years. Didn't do anything for it.
Are we such punks that we are so scared to try something different?
The Democrats are very nervous. They do nothing for you, and that was supposed to be automatic. Not anymore. USA! 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 USA!
like, is this really about the politics? Like, how do we know this is real?
It's legit. You guys have a beautiful home and a lot of family photos.
Yes. A lot of people said that my family was brainwashing me, and that really bothered me.
I've had people that have known me for 7 to 10 years that have texted me and told me that I have a mental illness.
You ready? Moving out.
For my sister at one time to say that you're a traitor.
A traitor to who?
A traitor to my race.
How do y'all feel about black conservatives?
Like y'all house Negro.
Voting for Trump is not about being a Republican.
Make America Great Again is for us too.
What does it make you feel like when you wear it?
It makes me feel like a proud American.
Hillary Clinton. That's who they wanted us to vote for over Trump.
Just because you are black, you don't have to be a Democrat. We have to start moving like free agents. What we gotta lose?
The people in this room are going to change America.
Not bad. Not bad. The Democrats are very nervous, I will tell you. They do nothing for you, and that was supposed to be automatic. Not anymore. I can live with that. That's. I was never a fan, you know that, right? In the past, the black community has been promised everything from the Democrats, by the Democrats, and they've got nothing. Democrat policies have led to unsafe communities, failing schools, over-incarceration. When I ran for president, I asked black Americans to give me a chance with your vote by saying, what the hell do you have to lose?
I'm just gonna be honest. I never thought I would ever see this many black people in MAGA hats. President Trump received more votes from black voters than both Mitt Romney and John McCain. And a lot like his presidential campaign, much of the media seems to be dismissing the growth of the black conservative movement, and instead is attacking their character and motives.
They create this narrative every 4 years that the Republicans are racist. They try to scare us. Are we such punks that we are so scared to try something different because every 4 years they knock for our votes and they say, vote for us because the other guy's racist? This is our time. Make America Great Again is for us too. We are Americans first and foremost. We have been in this country since 1619, before any other immigrant group.
This is Candace Owens, and at 29, she is the most influential young black conservative voice in American politics.
Black support for Donald Trump has doubled since this time last year. You guys can try to pretend that he is pushing in a racist era in this country when in fact we know the Democrats are the racists, have always been the racists. The left is incredibly good at linguistics. Planned Parenthood. That sounds nice. I want to plan my parenthood. But in reality, they're murdering babies.
Of the Democratic Party, it's been going on for far too long. And we say enough is enough. We're not voting for people who are not serving our communities and serving our best interests. The only people that are white that we have allowed around us are white liberals. And the only reason why black men are out here stomping on flags and burning them is because the Democrats never taught them how to love that flag.
In 2008, I voted for Obama simply because I got blacked into it. I'm gonna be honest. And he treated us like we are victims. The things that I learned in the hood are very conservative principles. Welfare, lamb for the slaughter. You make money, somebody comes up to you and says, give me 35% of your money, what are you gonna do? Excuse me? Give you what? These are very conservative principles that we are raised with, but we don't even know it.
It saddens me to think that black Americans have allowed ourselves to divide ourselves and ostracize ourselves based on our beliefs. I am a conservative. I'm a part of Blexit. which is a family of black Americans that choose to say, I can think for myself and I will love my black brothers and sisters regardless of what their political beliefs are.
And let me just say this. If President Trump is racist, he's doing a very bad job at it, okay? Because we are seeing numbers and opportunities for black Americans that we haven't seen in decades.
The chances of you being born, period, with all of the sperms that go everywhere, the chances of you being born is a miracle. The chances of you being born by the parents that you're being born to, or who's giving birth to you, that somehow isn't crackheads in prison and all these other things, you have escaped to become a miracle. The fact that you were born in this dispensation of time in America, you ought to be kissing the floor every time you walk around.
I think the black vote is going to become the most relevant vote in America by 2020. We're already seeing a major shift.
Men and women.
Men and women.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
It's just the conversation is different. I actually think digital media has allowed for this. And they're seeing people like me who popped up on YouTube with a different version.
Right.
And I am seeing so many black people pop up on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, using different hashtags. There is going to be a major black exit from the Democrat Party, and they're going to have to actually compete for their votes in 2020.
Both the Biden and Trump campaigns are setting their sights on the crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania ahead of November 3rd. A poll by Pew Research Center found that 2/3 of President Trump's supporters say they strongly back their candidate, compared to just 46% of Joe Biden's supporters. CBS This Morning co-host Tony Dokoupil went to the president's rally in Erie, Pennsylvania last night to learn what's behind those deep feelings of support.
If Donald Trump does in fact get 4 more years, it'll be on the strength of voters like these.
Trump's a real patriot, so am I, so if you don't like patriotism, you won't like me.
He's a man that wants to do it all for America, the best he can.
A silent majority, as the president calls them.
He's done a lot for the military, for international affairs, all the things that they say he's not good at, he seems to be pretty darn good at.
Although outside his rally in Erie, Pennsylvania, they're not so silent. And neither are their outfits. Among the vendors selling Trump gear, one particular phrase not affiliated with the campaign has caught our attention. It's emblazoned across mugs and phone covers, face masks, and of course t-shirts.
If you don't like Trump, you don't like me, and I'm okay with that. Do you agree?
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
You're not going to like me if you don't like Trump, because everything that he is, I am.
I like Trump, and I know people hate me for it. Really? Yes, absolute hatred. If you don't like Trump, then you probably don't like me.
I'm totally okay with that. I'm a deplorable.
But to really understand the president's appeal, at least to his staunchest supporters, you have to remember the promise of his victory speech.
The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer.
If maybe you didn't know who the president was talking about, well, his supporters sure did.
Oh, well, he's talking about all of us. Everybody that's not an elite. If you look around, it's all regular people. We were never represented with the Republicans or the Democrats.
Well, I think he was talking about a lot of the needs of, the average person, what they would call the flyover country.
For them, it's about jobs.
2008 to 2012, I was living paycheck to paycheck. Right now, I got money in the bank.
But also respect.
We're completely irrelevant to the Democratic Party except for voting time. Otherwise, they could care less about any of us.
And above all, recognition.
I would rather let him tell me what he thinks, but do the job, than getting a good words from politicians, and when they're in power, they will turn around and backstab everybody.
If you felt forgotten in 2016, how do you feel now?
I feel great, and I hope that he gets another 4 years. Felt forgotten in 2008. Yeah,
2008?
2012.
2012, you felt forgotten?
Yeah.
How do you feel now?
It's great. Great. Love it.
And as we've learned traveling through these battleground states, Trump's message can still land with a more varied crowd than you might expect.
Thank you very much, Pennsylvania. Go out and vote.
Did you vote for him in 2016?
Yes.
Are you going to do it again?
Yes, absolutely.
And your number one reason is?
The economy.
What's in the back of this truck?
Yes. My job. And my freedom and my rights.
You're going to be a first-time voter this time, voting for Trump. And what exactly pushed you over the line?
Hey, I got one life. I want to do something, and the dude's going to make a difference, man.
How do you think he's going to do on Election Day?
I think he's going to get it. I think he's going to win, man. The guy.
All right, so let's bring in Tony. Tony, you're in Erie, Pennsylvania, are you? Yes, you are. I wasn't sure if you'd be on your RV. That was really, really fascinating. And, you know, I've traveled a bit around Pennsylvania, and, you know, you get out of Philadelphia, you get out of Pittsburgh, and it really does look, at least according to a lot of the flags and stuff, like Trump country. And those flags, those Trump flags, have been up all 4 years. It's not just because of the election. What I thought was so fascinating, though, about your piece there is, you know, they are not talking about the issues. They're not talking about COVID. They're not talking about the Affordable Care Act. They're talking about the way Donald Trump makes them feel. And that lady who went all the way back to the deplorables, I mean, that line from Hillary Clinton still echoes 4 years later. It's kind of stunning.
No, you hit the nail on the head, Anne Marie. You know, people forget, particularly people who live in the southern part of Pennsylvania, that Pennsylvania is a state that to this day is a majority white working class state. Most residents are white without a college degree. Donald Trump got that vote. 2 out of 3 members of that demographic voted for him. And a big reason is because a bond that had existed between the Democratic Party and working class people, union households, it had frayed over the years. There was a feeling that the Democratic Party had turned their backs on working people, focused instead on elite people, pushed everyone toward a college degree, focused on clearing obstacles to a college degree, which is good and important work. But it leaves these other people behind and says, you've got to get with it. You've got to retrain. You've got to change. You're not good enough as you are. And if you don't, if your wages aren't going up, if you're not finding work, it's your fault. So it works on one half of the population and isn't working on the other. And those people have felt it. And the other thing I'll say, and I heard from people after that piece aired on the broadcast this morning, is they said, well, why didn't you push the Trump supporters? Why didn't you confront them with this fact check or that fact check, or make them talk about the coronavirus, or make them talk about the report that the president called military fallen service people suckers or losers? It's because for the president's staunchest supporters, it's not about facts and figures. They don't believe them if they hear them. They're not going to engage with them. It's about a feeling, and that feeling that they have of being seen and recognized by the president is fundamentally true to them, and that's all that matters. And if President Trump wins again in 2020, another shock as there was in 2016, we will be looking back at voters like the ones you just heard from and asking ourselves again, nationally and pollsters as well, how come that wasn't seen? How come they weren't connected with politically? Why did they feel left out? And here they roar again.
Yeah, Tony, I mean, I think what your piece does is highlights what a lot of people have realized over the last couple of years, that in fact the strong support that the president enjoys with his base has very little to do with the facts. It has very little often to do with those issues. Not that they are fact-free, it's just that they personally really, really like Donald Trump, and they like how he makes them feel. They like how they feel empowered because of him and the way that he speaks to them. You had in your earlier piece, you spoke to somebody who was actually a union worker, and he gave you the reasons why he wasn't supporting Donald Trump and why he was supporting Joe Biden. Now, this is a guy who who in your piece gave you some information. He talked about his paycheck, talked about his life, he talked about where he was 4 years ago and even 8 years ago. And there was something that he said that was important, which is that he doesn't actually, you know, in his mind, Republicans and Democrats are sort of two sides of the same coin. He doesn't see a huge benefit in either, but for him, Biden represents a path forward. And I just thought that that was interesting. You had somebody who was a blue-collar, middle-class guy giving you some interesting reasons as to why he was supporting Biden, and then you had another guy in that piece basically saying he likes Trump because everybody who doesn't like Trump is a pansy.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If Donald Trump loses Pennsylvania, which if he loses Pennsylvania, he could lose the White House, it will come down to voters like the one you just mentioned. Luke, a union welder, young man, has got a 5-month-old at home, is very emotional about what the union has done for him, the wage it has given him, the benefits it has given him, his ability to provide for his family. And he doesn't actually care Democrat or Republican. What he cares about is support for the union and the power that unions have had and the work they've done for people in this country. He doesn't support the president, President Trump, and this is the key part. Because the president is behind right to work, which weakens unions, or has been shown to weaken unions in other states. So 700,000 union members in Pennsylvania, if they hear President Trump talking about right to work and they value their union as much as Luke does, they may break in a big way away from the Republican Party, and that can be more than decisive. I mean, that could be a landslide in Pennsylvania.
I thought it was interesting, you know, towards the tail end of the piece that we just played, there was a little bit of talk of the economy, and you had that guy saying, you know, he used to live paycheck to paycheck. He isn't anymore. But we know now, I mean, it's something that we talk about every single day, is how the economy and the pandemic are kind of like hand in hand, this dance that we can't get the economy up and running again unless we get a hold of the pandemic. And I didn't hear much talk about that at all. It's sort of, you know, the thing about the pandemic is it initially hit, as you know, Vlad, in New York, it hit cities very hard initially. And so some of these smaller towns further out found themselves dealing with restrictions and wondering why, because they didn't have that many cases. Now we're seeing, you know, as the pandemic hits sort of areas further afield, and they're spiking now where the cities have been able to manage the pandemic. But I'm wondering if when you were out there talking to people, did they link the health of the economy to the physical health of the nation, the pandemic and the impact it was having, and the way the president managed that?
Well, when it comes to Trump supporters, particularly the kind of Trump supporter who goes to a rally, they really come into two categories. And one category is they don't believe that the virus exists at all. They don't know anyone who's had it. They've never personally met anyone who's lost somebody. They don't believe any footage of sick people. They don't believe the testimony. They don't believe any of it. It doesn't exist. That's category one. And then category two is people who think, yeah, it exists. Yeah, it's hurt people. But that was China that did it to us. Donald Trump has done a good job trying to manage it. And when it leaves our land, finally and once and for all, the president is the best person to bring the economy back. So because you have a portion of them who don't even think it exists, it's hard to have a conversation about it. And then with the other people, they're not going to have a debate about this policy or the next one. They think the president has done a great job. And they think when the president says, let's open it up, that also is the right course. Because, you know, in the balance between the health tied to the virus, the health deficits tied to the virus, and the deficits tied to working or not working, a lot of people pick working. They'd rather be sick and making a living than healthy and scared about their bank account.
You know what is remarkable, Tony, is to the point that you were just making. I was just thinking that given that his supporters, his base, seems to sort of believe whatever the president says, how different things would look right now if back in February the president had advocated masks and social distancing. We would perhaps not be where we are today with 220,000 of our fellow citizens, people who live in this country, having perished because of this pandemic. So that's the first thing that I thought when I was sort of listening to you say that, you know, for them, the virus doesn't exist. I know our David Begnaud just did a piece where there was a woman who was very much in that vein, who didn't believe in the virus, hadn't met anybody who had coronavirus until she became infected with it, and she's now in a hospital and will be there for the next 2 weeks. The other thing you had in your piece is you spoke to a young black man. How many people of color, black, brown, did you meet while you were covering this rally?
So very few. And the reason I meant very few is because there are very few. According to CBS News polling, it's about 10% of the African-American community that supports the president. Put another way, 90% of the African-American community, or 9 out of 10 black people you meet, do not support the president. So we included that guy at the end because they do exist, and 10% is a big enough number that can have an impact, but it's certainly not a majority. One theory out there, and this was something that somebody not on camera, but a black Trump campaign worker at a campaign office in Detroit came out to talk to us, didn't want to go on camera, or couldn't actually because of the campaign, and he said, there's a lot more like me in my community, but because so many of us are opposed to the president, we can't be open about it. So he calls them sort of shy Trump supporters. You hear about that sometimes. So that's why all these polls are still of concern to Democrats who were shocked in 2016. And now, again, they're thinking, who knows what's hidden in the figures? People really need to make a plan to vote and turn out.
Indeed, and I think it was important, and we've been sort of saying it too, Tony, to remind voters that we have resources at CBSNews.com for people who are going to be voting, because this is such a consequential election, and there's so many things that are sort of unique about this election in terms of how people will be voting. It's important because of what you just said there, that that there are some people who are not being straight with pollsters or not being straight with reporters about who they support, and so every vote is going to count, and those hidden votes, the president has called them a silent majority, a silent red wave that's out there. It potentially is there for the president, and they could rally in the next 2 weeks. So it's important that people have those resources. All right, Tony.
Yeah, I'm so glad you pointed that out. Thank you.
Yes, of course, as always, my friend. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Lad.
According to a national survey of 1,200 black voters and non-voters conducted by Third Way and the Joint Center, a majority of black Americans are more interested in voting in the 2020 presidential election than they were in 2016. In November 2019, President Trump launched his Black Voices for Trump campaign to win votes for his re-election in Atlanta.
Donald's a friend of mine. I just think he says it wrong. I think if he can reword some of the things he says and put it in business form, it'll really make sense. But Donald's like a straight up guy. Like if he sees your shirt tucked out, he won't put you aside.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Mike Tyson endorsed me. I love it. He sent out a tweet. Mike, Iron Mike. You know, all the tough guys endorsed me. I like that.
Looks up to you, looks up to Ralph Lauren, looks up to American industry guys. Non-political, no bull. Put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done. Right now, you gave me the heart.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. You know what that is, right?
Anything about Donald Trump being racist until he ran for president and won. Before then, everybody was like, oh, he's on WWE, he on different shows. Everybody, they like Donald Trump. As soon as he ran for president, because people don't like the truth. Because he come out and be like, oh.
Voting for Trump. She's voting for Trump.
Make America great again, baby. Thank you so much for having me. I want to first thank God for Brandon Straka for doing this great thing and unifying us, because that's what's most important. Because it's not about the color of our skin. It's not about our gender. It's about what we believe in.
Donald Trump, if he get in the office, a lot of is going to change, and it's going to be better for me. No disrespect to nobody out there, but...
Oh, good. Now I can see it.
Let's
so you
make
have
America great again.
All right.
You got it right there? You got it?
I got it. Thank you. So you made your way to Singapore. How?
Look at those hands. Are they small hands?
Each and every one of us are a 61% shareholders of everyone who got that money. The people in Washington, D.C. cannot count. Affordable care has already paid for itself. Mortgage, college tuition is already paid for. The money that Barack Obama gave to every banking corporation in the country, the money is sitting in the cellar of the United States Treasury, and no one knows how to get it. Don't let me in there. I'll leave with a pocket full.
Good Time star Jimmy Walker is now a Trump supporter who says it's time to be more politically incorrect. He joins me now. So, Jimmy, how have things changed in the world of comedy? I mean, you can't really say that much anymore.
Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person.
We don't need nice.
That's true, but actually I am.
Why have you looked at this president and said, I support what he's doing?
Well, I'll tell you, the greatest thing about America is that we all have our opinions and our thoughts. Nobody is totally correct in everything that they do. I have access to the president, and anytime I have access to the president, and he will listen to my thoughts, that's all I can ask of him. And that's what I do.
I won the lottery when I was born 63 years ago and looked up and I saw my mom. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should be running.
Out here,
sure.
So when I'm seeing him talk or seeing these certain comments, that's not like the Donald Trump that I know.
Okay.
So you know, I'm all for it.
Okay.
You know, I think he could win. He should win, and whether he wins or not.
Do you regret calling her Pocahontas? Do you regret that?
I do regret calling her Pocahontas because I think it's a tremendous insult to Pocahontas.
You know, Donald Trump is what Americans love. Donald Trump is what Americans aspire to be. Rich, powerful, do what you want to do, say what you want to say, be how you want to be. That's kind of been like
Just because of the attack of fake news and attacking our network, I just want to ask you, sir.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news. Yeah.